It's the Unhappy Hour.
All right, everybody, we're back. It's Brian Engelman here on the TNAM Radio Network here at the NewAmericanMedia.com. So, it's the Unhappy Hour. We already did a little quick hit on the Ohio State Buckeyes, who are still number one, and that is very good. So, that being said, a little bit more to the show, but really it was only like a 10-minute, just kind of going over the highlights. Check it out, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. Check out thenewamericanmedia.com. The homepage, that's where our Twitter and Facebook feed is on the bottom right, and that's where the TNAM radio button is to listen live. So, let's get to Brandon Odell, a regular guest host, a guest and quasi-host of Strictly Browns. We've kind of gone off the rails just a little bit with that, but hey, we work around moving schedules as everybody does. So let's get Brandon Odell back into the program, and we're going to talk about this Tennessee Titans victory yesterday. This Cleveland Browns victory over the Tennessee Titans is probably the best way to say that. He is an English teacher. He will correct me. That is if Brandon answers the phone, which he will. Theoretically. Maybe. Odd it hasn't gone to voicemail. Oh, I love when this happens. But it's all good, it's all good. Alright, here, let's try this again. You know what? Maybe that was a different line. Yeah, I think that's what I did. That was my bad. I just assume Brandon will be punctual.
Hello.
Brandon, you're live on the Unhappy Hour. Welcome back, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing today?
Well, I just called your non-operational number for about 15 seconds, and I finally went, oh, wait a minute, that's probably why he's not answering. I said, Brandon is pretty punctual. I said he would be there. Oh, no, this is user error. My bad. That's all me. So, yes. Other than that, I'm doing great.
Yeah, we got rid of the home phone about a year and a half ago, and haven't found that we've missed it a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, like, if the power's out, like, having the copper landline, like, sometimes, like, that'll actually route around, and you can make phone calls when, like, internet phones would be down, but, you know, then you have a cell phone to back it up, so how often does that really happen? So, yeah, I hear you, the times are a-changing, and I opened the show kind of talking a bit about the Buckeyes. Is it time to talk about Braxton Miller at quarterback by chance? And I segued that into Johnny Manziel, wondering, wouldn't it be nice for a change, because the times they might be a-changing, wouldn't it be nice to get a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or somebody that can be the quarterback for 5, 10, 15 years, a Peyton Manning type character? Who knows if Johnny's that, but I'll tell you what, he looks like a totally different player from last year. What do you make of watching Johnny play against the Titans and pulling out his first victory?
Well, you know, I mean, first of all, he made a few big plays that won the game, and I think that's awesome. I think that unfortunately he, excuse me, you still saw a few of those same kind of blunders that kind of disappoint us a little bit. Like, say for example, the two strip sacks that we were lucky enough to fall back on, I think are perfect examples of that. So, yeah, basically, I think the fact that you know you still wonder how he is going to be able to hold up to a real beating from some of the the much larger players that really can lay it on you, I guess. You look at a guy like Aaron Rodgers, and he's missed time recently. Ben Roethlisberger has been banged up in the past. So far this year, Matthew Stafford, I guess, is pretty banged up, and then you have Tony Romo out probably until week 12. So I don't know if he's going to be able to handle a consistent pounding. But then again, what quarterback would?
No,
I'm looking.
that's
Go ahead.
true. No, I was just gonna say that is a good point. I mean, nobody, and we saw that for how many years with the Browns. It doesn't matter if you draft Tim Couch #1 overall. You don't give him a shot if you have no offensive line, and that is something the Browns have. When the Browns played well last year at 7-4, in first place in the AFC North, it was because Brian Hoyer was doing okay when the line was functioning, and then after that Steeler game, when Alex Mack went down, it totally. Everything changed. And I guess my question to you, I mean, we talk about going up against people. I guess is a two-part question here. Yeah, there are some more bigger beasts in the NFL, but Dick LeBeau's defense is one of the most confusing, challenging defenses anybody could ever go up against. Wouldn't you say that was a pretty big deal worked into the fact that Johnny had a couple great plays and a couple mistakes? But the second part of that question, I know it doesn't seem related necessarily, but the second part of it is, what is the greater sin? Johnny Manziel getting stripped of a football, and you can work on that. You can work on pocket presence and holding the ball differently until you get in space, versus Josh McCown, who ran out and got helicoptered into darn near a coma, and he's on 2 weeks of concussion protocol. Johnny's getting out, and when he does run, he slides quick, and he's protecting himself. So I guess, what's the bigger sin with McCown, and aren't we undervaluing defeating Dick LeBeau's defense?
When you say what is the greater sin with McCown, I'm not sure. I don't quite follow your question.
Well, I mean, McCown took off running and lost the football, and might have lost his playing career. Who knows? But Johnny Manziel, it's not that he was running around holding it like a loaf of bread out from his body and he was careless with it. He got stripped, in a cluster of people, and he just needed to hold on better. So I'm just saying, aside from the boneheaded moves, I don't know. I would say maybe McCown's is the greater sin, running and getting the ball smacked out of your hand on a tackle versus getting in a cluster and having it yanked away. Maybe it's the same. Maybe Johnny's is worse, but I don't know. I kind of think McCown's was worse, if you could say such a thing.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. Losing a scoring opportunity, but fact of the matter was it was. I mean, it was one of those plays where you just. It was a bad situation for McCown. It was not the best decision for him by any means, but I agree with what Coach Mike Pettin had to say last week to an extent, where it's one of those plays that sometimes anyone dives for, and it was a very unfortunate play. It's certainly unfortunate that it put him out for 2 weeks, but the consistency, being consistently able to strip the ball when you're being sacked in a way is more concerning to me than a guy reaching diving for the end zone for a touchdown.
And I could see that. And let me ask you it a second way then. Okay, with part A being answered, would you be more concerned had Johnny thrown 2 interceptions as opposed to having 2 fumbles? Because I feel like I would be a lot more bothered by having him watch. He would misread his receipt. He didn't know the routes. He didn't understand reading the defense. He threw it in the wrong spot, and twice he was picked off, as opposed to, well, he got the ball knocked away twice. We got to work on that. Versus, wow, this guy has no idea what's going on the field. I see a big difference between those 2 mistakes.
Well, in a way, fumbles are worse because you automatically give the opponent the ball where you are. If you throw a 30-yard interception, it might as well be a glorified short punt.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. Any turnover, no matter what the situation, is bad. There are some that are worse than others. I think instead of asking what kind of turnover it was, the better question is, at what point in the game did it occur?
Okay. And I get it. It having played on the defensive side of things, stripping the ball, causing a fumble, grabbing an interception, putting pressure on a quarterback that leads to an interception. I've done these things, and there's nothing more demoralizing for an offense than to go through that and have that happen. So yeah, a turnover is a turnover, and those need to be cleaned up. But I mean, we did see a few good things out of Johnny Manziel. I mean, Were you surprised that he kind of had the cannon of an arm that we saw in some of those bombs? I mean, it wasn't just close your eyes, spin around, and toss it. These were moves with high degrees of difficulty, especially that last one, having to roll out and then reset his body, get in the right throwing stance and let it rip in the perfect spot. I mean, it wasn't like throwing the fair catch footballs that Brian Hoyer would. The receiver has him beat, and then he has to stop and turn around and wait for it, and then he's tackled. This was hitting him in stride. I mean, are you surprised to see Johnny that accurate on the deep ball?
Well, I mean, supposedly that is one of the things that he is best at is throwing a good deep ball. But I mean, it was a couple of great plays. I think you're seeing an emerging star as long as we can keep him healthy. And Travis Benjamin.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to attribute the fact that you just had a guy that was faster than anyone else on the field that was able to, break open two long bombs and then obviously run back a punt as well. So, give some credit where credit is due to Benjamin as well as far as just being able to outrun everyone else on the field. As far as go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was just gonna toss out there. I mean, could you imagine Josh Gordon and Travis Benjamin lining up on both sides of the field? I kind of start going, wow, I forgot he was on our team too. Wow, that'll be fun.
Yeah, let's not count our chickens before we're hatched with them.
I'm the eternal optimist, damn it. I am the eternal optimist. I know. Because I got high, because I high. Yeah, who knows if he'll make it through the off season. But hey, Johnny looks like he turned it around. I mean, maybe it's all an act, maybe he actually has, but everything I'm hearing and reading and seeing it, he looks like a totally different player that's finally taking things seriously. So, I hold out hope that Josh Gordon will get his act together and come back and do some great things. Maybe not. But I mean, the team got the win, and that's a great thing. We're sitting there at 1-1, a game back of the Bengals, and looking down at the Ravens at 0-2. We're in a good spot right now. Now, of course, we know the schedule's going to get a lot tougher after the Raiders, but thing about schedules, you never know which team's going to be up, which team's going to be down. Seattle's 0-2, and Colts already lost, and go figure. But what did you make of the game coming down to the last? It was kind of down to the wire. In the fourth quarter, you could feel the momentum kind of changing. The Browns went into a prevent offense, and the defense had to come up big, and they put a lot of pressure on Marcus Mariota yesterday. Talk about the defense and what you saw on that side of the ball.
Well, you saw a team that was, frankly speaking, probably pretty embarrassed with how they played last week.
Wait, Brandon, hold on. Did you move the phone? It sounds like you're in a tunnel.
Oh,
you're back.
Sorry.
Okay.
I said you're talking about a team where chances are you were pretty embarrassed as a defense with how your unit performed last week. So I think they came out with a lot of energy. They executed a very, just an obvious game plan, which is, put as much pressure on Mariota as you can from many different angles. I think they were able to get some push with their front four, which was important. You saw like Jamie Meter getting in there a little bit, which he's a player from my own hometown that I've definitely been starting to notice a little bit more.
Jamie Meter in the Miz, right? Isn't he from Parma too?
He is as well. You are correct.
And is Drew Carey? No, that's just moons over Parma. Where's he from?
I think he's from Old Brookman.
Oh, okay, my bad. Anyway, yeah, Jamie Meter. I mean, he's the defensive lineman that was grading out at the best preseason performance. Throughout the 4 practice games, he was rocking it. He earned a roster spot. I mean, if Jamie Meter wasn't crushing it, the Browns wouldn't have got rid of Phil Taylor and made a few moves. I mean, I guess he's kind of proven us right.
Did Phil Taylor end up getting picked up by anyone?
Good question. I saw that he went over and was talking to the Steelers, and because of a knee concern, they passed on him. I don't know if he landed on a roster. It's a good question. All right, you talk about something. I'll look that up. So you saw the line doing pretty well. What'd you make out of the linebacker play?
I liked Armani Bryant. What did he end up having? 2.5 sacks or something? I thought that he definitely we need. I mean, let's not forget Armani Bryant before his injury last year. People in the preseason were really starting to expect some big things out of him. So this is him back healthy, and maybe he can kind of be that presence opposite Paul Kruger that we really thought we were going to get with Barkevious Mingo. But even still, looking at Mingo out there today, or like right now, I mean, he just looks so small compared to a normal defensive, like an outside linebacker defensive end. He looks like a tall safety, and even skinny for a safety.
Yeah.
So
I never understood that body type. I didn't understand the position and how that looked more like a badass wide receiver, like a Calvin Johnson or something, than that position. I know it's not just me, but I don't know.
And Calvin Johnson's body type is designed to overpower defensive backs, not to go head-to-head with offensive linemen.
Yeah, so what? You're very right about that. So was that a screwed-up pick, or are we ever going to – I don't know. What do you see happening with that?
Well, I mean, I think he serves a purpose. And I actually saw an interesting article, and this is a topic for another day, but about the 2013 draft and with basically how poor it is at this point. And it could certainly go down as one of the worst drafts ever. Mingo, actually, in the top 6, is one of the better performers because at least he's a borderline starter. The number 1 overall pick lost his left tackle job to a veteran, and then lost his right tackle job to a guy that Kansas City signed 7 days before the start of the season.
Who is this? Which?
Eric Fisher.
Oh, okay. Jeez. Yeah, that's a bust. People talk about Justin Gilbert, and of course Johnny Manziel up until yesterday, when you at least see a glimmer of hope, if not misguided or premature. Yeah, Justin Gilbert, they're just tearing him up and tearing that pick up, and yeah, you look out in the history, at least the past decade, of the draft busts and the draft wins. Yeah, we've had our share of misses. We've definitely missed on a lot of players. The book is still open on a few, and then some like Joe Hayden and Joe Thomas are doing just fine. But, yeah, I mean, that unit is I feel like they could get a lot better. I think Danny Shelton's really going to anchor that. And it's when you have an anchor up the middle, it just changes what your middle linebacker is expected to do, and it changes what everyone around him is expected to do. What did you make of the defensive backs? I know that's a position you tend to focus on, having played that yourself. What did you make about the rotations and some of the plays and what they did right and what they need to get better on?
I think that for the majority of the game, I think they played really well, and I think that you didn't the passing game just was very quiet for Mariota, and I think a lot of that goes back to the constant pressure up front. But midway, like through the third and into the fourth quarter, especially, you saw Mariota starting to get some time to throw and starting to be able to find some holes in the defense to throw to his players. So, but overall, I would say probably like a solid B grade. I think that allowing a couple of really dumb penalties hurt. You had a great interception by Poyer there that kind of would have sealed it, and then it gets called back, and then 2 plays four plays, like a fourth and 10 or something, they give up that touchdown.
Yeah, was that the hands to the face? Because that was a garbage. Seriously, you saw the replay, and his hand went to the guy's shoulder. I mean, that was such a ticky-tack, lousy call. I mean, if someone cold cocks a quarterback, gives him a forearm shiver, knocks him flying right in his face. All right, yeah, I get that. That's not what this was. I don't know. I just feel like if you're gonna potentially change the outcome of a game, I feel like plays like that they should be able to go review. call me crazy, but it's like, hey, it happened fast, and it looked like you just smacked his helmet off of his face. I feel like if that could change a game, you might be able to review that. Is that a little too much, or do you think that's something?
I don't know. I think that it's one of those things where you could probably call on half the plays in any given game too. So
Yeah, you're kind of right.
just any kind of hands to the face sort of thing. So I don't know what to think.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people ripping helmets off. Pac-Man Jones ripping off Mari Cooper's helmet and then hitting him in the head, and he gets a slap on the wrist. Hey, give me a couple bucks. It's like Josh Gordon's out for a season for beer, and you let him rip a helmet. I just can't make sense of the NFL at all. I just feel like there's almost zero consistency across the board with what is going to be deemed excessive and what's allowable, and you hate seeing a penalty turn around. Just a huge swing right there. That was a great play for the Browns to get that interception, and to have it come back from hands to the face seemed ridiculous to me. Well, let's move ahead, unless you want to talk a little bit more about the fact that the Cleveland Browns love dreadlocked punt returners. If you have any other thoughts wrapping up our game against the Titans, I definitely want to kind of take a look forward at Oakland and see what you're thinking this team might be capable of this year.
Well, yeah, actually, that sounds great. I'd like to get a chance to talk about the Oakland game for a couple of minutes before we wrap up, because I will be going to that game, in fact.
Oh, okay. Hold on right there then. I want to tell you this, and then we'll get right to it. In a story that I missed from 6 days ago, the Cleveland Browns agreed to an injury settlement when they released defensive tackle Phil Taylor, meaning both parties agreed it was time for parting. First-round pick in 2011 agreed to a settlement figure of $966,000, which is far less than the $5.477 million he was guaranteed when the Browns picked up his fifth-year option. They felt Taylor... gaining free agency. Hang on, almost. When he was released, he visited the Steelers, who decided that he needed another procedure on his knee and passed on signing him. That lingering knee problem may have led to the settlement, which is used in lieu of putting a player on the injured reserve. Had Taylor gone on injured reserve, he would not have been able to play for the entire season or until he was fully healthy, when he could have been released off the IR. The settlement gives him the chance to play this season and to look for a new team. Taylor also may have thought that his playing time had been reduced in Cleveland, with the Browns taking Danny Shelton in the first round of the draft. Taylor earned his freedom for just short of $1 million. By agreeing to the settlement, the Browns saved roughly $4.5 million in cap room. So that's how the Phil Taylor thing worked out. I kind of missed that wrap up. So there you go.
Sounds like he's going to try to play for another team, but he just might be one of those guys that, unfortunately, when you weigh that much, and you're putting a lot of stress on your lower body. I'm sure that a lot of those guys spend a lot of their lives with some extreme knee pain.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of pain, Dwayne Bowe is it's painful. Well, got rid of Pryor. Dwayne Bowe's a non-factor, barely throwing to Heartline. That's the last question as we wrap up and move to Oakland. What do you make of the receivers not named Benjamin?
I don't think that Manziel really knows how to, operate an offense where he's moving the ball around a lot. So, I think that if you had a more I'm not saying that he's incompetent, but what I'm saying is I think if you had a more competent quarterback, like, if it's Tom Brady back there, you're going to see a lot more of the other receivers. The guy only threw 15 passes and only connected on 8 of them. So you're not going to see big numbers by your third, fourth guy.
That's a fair point, and I think that's something that the coaches are going to get him up to speed on. I hope. I lied. One more question. Well, I guess this is an Oakland question. I hope they're going to get him up to speed, but then there's that chance that Josh McCown gets cleared and he comes back as the starter. Talking about Oakland, now we've shifted to Oakland. Do you expect to see Johnny Manziel, or do you hope that we see Johnny Manziel? Because those could be two different answers there. I
guess I'm kind of in between on both. but probably my ultimate answer would be if the guy won a game, and if he finally showed in some way or another that he deserves the chance to start. You invested a first-round pick on the guy. This might be the perfect opportunity at the very least. You could, for one more week, you could probably say, oh, well, Josh McCown is still in the concussion protocol. We just wanted to really play it safe and just start Johnny that way using that excuse. I think after this game, excuse me, I'm sorry, you won't be able to use that excuse anymore.
It is kind of a one-time deal. Buy one, get one with this coupon. Expires tomorrow. Or expires after the Oakland game.
Get two out of it, I think. Because let's face it, they probably is anyone really that surprised that they ended up wanting Manziel to play that game in front of the home crowd? So.
Yeah. Okay. So you would say maybe, but then again, the difference is, maybe there wasn't all that much of a difference in the preseason if you judge Johnny's 2 games and it said, oh, your elbow's flaring up. We'll give you a little bit of a break. We know what you're wow. Yeah. You showed us a lot. You've improved and you're far from being perfect. Gotcha. Let's see what McCown's capable of. Okay. We see what he can do. You guys are pretty close, but it's going to go to McCown. Keep working, Johnny. We'll get you in there. But, maybe it was really close. And maybe it was, all right, you got us the win. Hell, wins are tough to come by as a Cleveland Browns fan. You got us one. You got to ride the hot hand, especially against an Oakland team that at least before the season, face it, we've been drafting right around Oakland's position for about a decade. So when you're always in the top 10, that means you're in the bottom 10 of the league. So, it's a winnable game coming up. And you said you're going to this game, huh?
I'm definitely. I think it is a winnable game. I think we might get lucky. I think Oakland is going to be an inconsistent team, and I think after having a really good game, at least offensively, this past week, I think that they're probably going to be due for a little bit of a downturn, especially having to travel on the road. Yeah. I think this is our game. I think we get this game. And I would be much more concerned with having to travel back cross country ourselves in an extra, in an extra week when we have to go all the way out to San Diego.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's ask this. Let's say Johnny freaking football. And by the way, his quote was hilarious when he said, "Yeah, when I made the spin and I heard a rack post say, oh shit." I knew it was going to be a good play. I thought that was hilarious. And like the way he's delivering it, you can tell like I don't know. I have grown impressed with the kid. I definitely was not happy with what I saw, but I'm growing impressed with him. Yeah.
Well, let's assume that the guy is going to end up starting. Because I guess we still don't know that, but. Right. But I think it's much more likely to put him out there
another home game
in front of the home crowd.
Yep.
After winning a game, because I think that you're never going to see he's going to be you're never going to be more confident than you are in front of your home crowd, and you're never going to be more confident
and comfortable.
That's basically it. So.
Yeah, confident. But hey,
listen, man, I really have to wrap up. My daughter is calling, and I think I have to say goodnight for the time being.
All right, hey Brandon, it was great having you. Last question out the door. If Johnny wins against the Raiders, is his playing time guaranteed against the Chargers? Maybe the Ravens even. Like if he pulls this off.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Okay.
So.
Hey, go Browns, man. I'll let you go, and we will talk again soon. I appreciate your time.
All right, bye.
Peace. All right, there he goes, everybody. Hey, and that's what I was saying. When you're doing radio shows, it's great to have producers. It's great to be on time and have every drive time from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Listen to the Brian Show. Ha ha ha. We'll have guests and more. Look, that's a great thing to do. But when you're doing this, when you're doing this as nearly a one-man operation with a lot of help from a lot of great people. The producing, the engineering, the scheduling, anyway, all that stuff. It's tricky, and when duty calls, you got to let a guest bounce, and that happens in real life, and that's the way it goes. But no, it was great having Brandon for today. It's tough tracking him down. We have a lot of good guests. I'm really fortunate that we've built up a nice roster of guests over the past few years. Real soon, we're going to bring Zach Barris back in, I'm sure, former NBA scout, lifelong Cleveland sports fan, to talk about the Cavaliers, because, yes, the Cavaliers, which, have a great chance of winning an NBA title this year. I think they're the preseason favorites in Vegas. Hey, we got a shot to do something really big. Indians are only a couple games out of the playoffs. I know there's only a couple games left, but hell, if you believe in magic, let's believe that any team can get hot, and as long as you get in there, a wild card team can take it. We saw it with the Florida Marlins. So sports is special that way. You never know when your next quarterback could be the Joe Montana that anchors your team for a long time. Your Tom Brady. Your Ben Roethlisberger. Maybe Johnny's the guy. Maybe he's not. But I say, let's find out. He's on year 2. Show me something. You're not going to learn by watching. Get on the field and play. And I think there were points last year where Johnny on the field, he was going to get his head taken off because he didn't know the plays. He didn't understand the reads. He did that in college. He's a kid that partied. And how do you say you partied too much in college? You should have been focused on... Come on, man. Dude's 18, 19, 20 years old. What were you doing when you were 18, 19, and 20 years old? What if you just won a Heisman? What if everybody knew you and kind of liked you? Or at least wanted to... You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, fine. Johnny had to come to the NFL and fall on his face. LeBron James, he was... In high school, he was just as big as he was in the NBA. On that local level... and quasi-national level. He was a phenomenon. The hype was there. You didn't really hear about LeBron James in Las Vegas with rolled up $20 bills in a nightclub bathroom. I will give LeBron credit for that. I know, there's still a part of me, though, that feels like until LeBron gets me those 2 championships he won in Miami... Till he brings 2 home to Cleveland, I'm still going to... I'll probably be happy with 1. But I want like 10. Isn't that fair? I want 10. But, and it's cool because Johnny Manziel and LeBron are boys. They like each other. They're buddies. They got some mutual business interests, if you know what I mean. So, it's cool that he... has the possibility of serving as a mentor. At least, maybe unofficially, maybe officially. But, Johnny having a horrible year last year, he had to enter rehab and go, man, and tell me, has that never happened to you? Have you ever put on a little extra weight? I know that's happened to me a couple times. You just fall into rhythms and certain eating patterns and partying patterns, and you just kind of get complacent, and you wake up one day and go, wait a minute, what the heck? Come on, you've never partied a little too much? Johnny had to get his act together. So you could have an alcoholic that gets on the wagon and you see him drop a ton in weight and they're much more functional in society and doing great. And you're like, wow, I can see... I didn't see that type of difference necessarily, but in the way Johnny carried himself and what all of his teammates and coaches are saying publicly and privately about him, apparently it's a night and day difference, to use the quote from the coaching staff. I think it was Mike Pettin. There probably been a lot of people that have said that, but you know what? Hopefully Johnny can be the guy. He did win a Heisman. He's kind of good. What if he could take that kind of good, reckless skill set and teach the more top-notch fundamentals, how to dissect it and break it down and work within a system, keep yourself safe and healthy, and rely on your teammates to manage some games and some wins, and then maybe in between, you take those chances. You take those Johnny Manziel chances for 40 and 50-yard bombs, touchdowns to Travis Benjamin. I mean, he likes doing that, and that's neat. So, I mean, he's got a ton of room to grow, but I am so excited to be excited. I'm so happy to be happy. I mean, Mondays, after a Browns win, does it get back? Okay, after a Buckeyes win and a Browns win. Oh, wait, after a Buckeye win when you're number one in the nation coming off a national championship from last year. And the Browns win. Wait, when the Cleveland Indians are within striking distance of the playoffs, and the Buckeyes won as number one, and the Browns won. Okay, hold on, wait, I'll get this time. Does it get any better than being an Indians fan when you're toward the end of the season a few weeks away, but you're only a couple games out of the playoffs, and you have a chance? Maybe it's a slim chance, but it's a chance to get into the playoffs. And once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen, especially with this pitching staff and Francisco Lindor. Plus, the number one ranked Ohio State Buckeyes in their second season in defense of a back-to-back national champion, the first ever undisputed national champion of college football. The Buckeyes win. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are favored in Vegas to be the NBA champions, with the best player on the planet anchoring your team, flanked by mega all-stars like Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. I gotta say, putting all those things in perspective, it is a mighty fine time. It is a mighty fine time to be a Cleveland sports fan and a Buckeye fan. Mighty fine time. And that is all the time that I have for you today. So, do us a favor, check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com, where on the right-hand side you'll see TNAM Radio. That's where we click play to listen live. And we send out messages on Twitter and Facebook. That's also on the middle right-hand side of thenewamericanmedia.com. Link up with us there, and we'll send out a message like we did today. Here, what did ours say today? It said, live radio, talking Buckeyes and Browns on hashtag The Unhappy Hour Radio Show at www.thenewamericanmedia.com/tnam-radio. Click play, listen live. So we send out messages on Facebook and Twitter, so go ahead and set yourself to receive notifications on that at American_media_ on Twitter. And subscribe, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia, and check out all of our archive shows. So, for everybody here at the TNAM Radio Network, I want to thank Brandon Odell, and I want to thank the Indians, Cavs, Browns, and Buckeyes for making this a very exciting time to be a sports fan. So, I'll talk with you all soon. Hope you have a great time. Sleep tight. Don't let the... I don't know. What was my awesome outro supposed to be? Peace! I started doing that when Greg Morris started doing that, so I'll try not to do that. Well, I do say peace, but I say that on the phone. I usually say, I appreciate you, I love you, and I'm out.
It's the Unhappy Hour.
And this is John B. Wells reminding you that not only is Brian Engelman a cool guy, and not only is the newamericanmedia.com a very cool platform, but here's a cool idea for you, too. Are you alone? Not really. Do you like dogs? Do you like cats? You do. Of course you do. Everybody does. One or the other, maybe even both. You know, there are a lot of dogs and cats that are at shelters right now, and if somebody doesn't take them home, they're going to wind up euthanized. That's a nice way of saying they're going to be killed, because there's simply not enough room. I guarantee it, the best dogs and the best cats, the best pets, come from shelters. There's something about dogs and cats. They know. They know where they are. You walk through one of them, and certainly at least one is going to look at you and go, I wish you'd take me home. I'm in hell. Please take me out of here. It'll be the best thing that you ever did for your soul. You'll feel good about it. And not only that, but you have a friend for life. Doesn't matter if you got money, you don't have money. Well, it doesn't make any difference to a dog or cat. All they need is the sound of your voice and maybe even the stroke of your hand, and they're fine. Maybe a little food every once in a while. The sweetest sound that those pets ever hear is your voice. Think it over and adopt a cat or a dog from a local shelter today. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did.